I am going to talk to you guys about really how we can take our content to the next level and some of the features that are available and some of the features that are coming and how it's all going to kind of look at as well. So kind of expanding even more on what Kristen and Chaz have already talked about. So the first thing is, let's just so I'd wanted to really thank our web developers and everybody. So some of the things that we've talked about and we're going to continue talking about have taken us since the last September to be building and are continuing to build out. And all of these enhancements that we've talked about so far that and Chaz had mentioned about, for example, being able to change that mega navigation menu that he was showing you. That is going to be available, and we're going to start rolling that out in the next month or so, but it will not roll out to everybody like every other update all at once. We have to really slow that down because it will break a lot of sites. So we're doing it site by site, and we are going to actually first put it on to test, figure out what's working and what's not, and then eventually roll it out to your production sites. So we are anticipating a fairly long rollout. So I just want to set expectations clearly right now, as well as just to let you know that, some of these things are ready to go, but we're in the midst of trying to make sure that your site is going to work and we're not going to impact our end users. And that's really our main goal. So I think that the mega navigation is like the top one that everybody wants right now. And we know that, and I can see a lot of faces and heads nodding. And I think we're all very aware of that. But again, there are huge implications to how your site functions. And so we do not want your site not to function properly. So it is coming. Don't worry. We're on it, but give us a little bit of time. So let's talk about what is actually available right now. Some of you already may know this. Recently, we launched a whole brand new component, the person listing component. For those of you who haven't seen it, I know there's a whole bunch of folks who may not have seen it. I'm going to kind of go over it. But the first thing that I just wanted to mention is we spent, a lot of us, especially those folks who've been in the web platform for a long time, you're doing a lot of things in the back end with things that are called views. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But views, and I can see the shaking heads already, views can be really complicated to set up. And we are going away from that. We are actually going to stop allowing you to be able to use views because of components like this. So this is our next iteration because you don't need a view, and it allows our end user or any content editor can just update the page on their own. You don't need to have a website architect come in and set it all up. And if you need to make a change, it turns into a really complicated event. So it's to make it really simple and straightforward. And I'm just going to demo how to do it because it is that simple. So let's just flip over for half a second to a blank page. So this is just a layout paragraph page that I already created for everyone. And I'm going to just go into the edit. I'm going to add in our new component. So it's already there, the person listing. I can add a title. I don't actually have to have a title if I don't want to, but let's just put one in for now. Let's call it demo. And let's start typing in our person. So as soon as I start to type, it auto-populates. We can see the headshot of the person. So again, if there's multiple people with the same name, you can pick out the right appropriate person. I can add in another person. Let me just add somebody else. If there's no image, you can see we have the standard no image option there. So I'm just going to add 3 people here just to keep it really easy and straightforward. So let's say I have my 3 people. I'm going to save it. And boom, it's already there. It's published. No need to use a view or anything. But what's really nice, I'm just going to save the whole page. If I click the read more, let me just close that. It's going to take me directly to the person's bio page. Right there, all done nicely for you. You don't have to figure anything out. Links off to wherever you need to. How much information is obviously in this bio page will obviously depend on your person listing. So I guess the first part or the first step that I did not mention about this whole person listing is you have to have the person in your as a component or as a page in your actual web platform site. So that's an assumption, obviously, but really intuitive and easy for our end user and for you to use. Let's go back and say, well, let's use this demo as our example and say, okay, great. But now I have a little problem. I don't like the order. I want to change my order. Well, that's really easy. I can just drag and drop these people into whatever order I want. So you don't need to, you can go alphabetical or not, or maybe you want to have the head of the dean, obviously we'd probably put the dean at the top of the list, but whatever order you need, you can do it. If somebody leaves, so let me just do that. I can just delete them out and click save and I'm done. Super straightforward. You'll also notice that the component will change size based upon how much room is there dynamically. So really easy for you to use. So let's go in and add, I'm going to do one that's a little bit different. So we're going to do our person listing again. And just give me a moment here. Let's add in, let's say 7, 8 people. All right. So I've added a whole bunch of people, but you can see same thing. It's just added it in here. But now we have just that the one person, the people are all smaller now. But let's say I've added this in, but I don't actually like the way this is displaying. I don't want a card view. Well, that's no problem. Let's just duplicate this. I'm going to go in here and edit it. If I go into my layout options, I can display it as a list. Save, and I'm done. So, especially if you haven't seen that, I think that's a really nice enhancement, especially for departments, people who have like teams and or groups that are changing. You can use it for anything. It doesn't have to be a departmental listing, obviously. You make it whatever you want it to be. So I am going to stop right there for half a second or maybe more. Questions. And if I can, 2 questions. You can have 2 questions. Kelsey's coming. We'll just what happens.
One prize.
First of all, if you want it sorted by last name or sorted by any kind of sorting, do you have that option? Secondly, if the bios are coming from the profile system, or you have to have them in the website previously?
So both parts. So the first part is the order is totally up to you. It doesn't automatically sort, but you can drag and drop however you want it. So you can make it whatever order you need it. The second part is currently it is not linked to the UC profile. So you will have to create that person in the web platform on your site. But this is way longer down the roadmap. But we are hoping that we'll be able to dynamically pull that content in from the UCLA profiles and then also push data. So if you update it, it'll all be interconnected. But that is not happening this year. So don't anticipate thinking that's happening this year. And I know Kelsey, there's another question up here. And I definitely...
Our headshots all look a little different. Is there any opportunity maybe in the future to have marketing or some group provide some kind of like consistent headshots that could be used for our websites?
So I think there's multiple answers to that question, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm not the best person to answer about marketing taking questions, and I think there's some folks in the room who might be able to better address that.
Hi, everyone. Yes, our marketing team does have a pre-scheduled grouping of photo sessions for executives to come through, including doctors, nurses, and anyone else. So we certainly can go offline and send you all a link to do the scheduling.
I think Krista might be taking the other part of that, maybe.
Oh, and then the other thing that we do, we've done in the past here is have regularly scheduled shoots out in the botanical gardens. Because it's a consistent background. It's always green, it's always sunny, it's always beautiful. That can get a little tricky sometimes with our in-house photographer and his capabilities and bandwidth, but I think between the two of us, there are options.
And
Another question?
Yeah, I just wanted to also expand on that, the question, because the media library itself with our upgrades, we are not there yet, but we'll also help address that because we're going to try and make images standardized sizes and cropping and fix all of those issues. So I know that's a pain point for everyone. Trust me, we've heard you. We know it. We're working on it. There's a lot of discussions internally on trying to fix that and where we're going, and you'll start to see some upgrades over the next few months. So that's why it's a 2-part answer.
So currently our person listing page is built in a view and it has a search capability. So we have, I don't know, 120 plus faculty members that are housed there. Do you envision for folks like me who have it currently set up as a view to rebuild in this current setting? And then is there a search functionality that is available with this new page?
So we're not expecting you to rebuild it tomorrow. I think eventually probably we're going to have to, because you'll find that that search doesn't work as well as we want, is what we've discovered. And I think just by your your head shake to that statement, we know that. And so we are going to start to try at some point and build that into our component. So that would be the first step, is to make sure it works, our newer version works properly, and then do that. And when I say we're getting rid of views, we're not really getting rid of views. Views actually exist in the back end. We're restricting its access. So that's going to be more something that we manage to make sure that they're created properly. So, and I already like your response to that, because we all know managing views for those folks who are in there in the back end, that can be quite a challenge. So the question was, is this available? And it is available currently on the platform. The search functionality is not available currently. So, yeah. We will keep going. I have a few other things I wanted to talk about. And if you do think of questions, we can always come back. So the next thing is we're going to talk about what's coming soon. Some of these things Chaz kind of alluded to and showed you, but the critical thing I want you to let you know is, for example, that these are accessed only by site administrators or higher. So while they're available for the platform, you won't be able to necessarily enable them. And I think there's only like 3 people in this room other than our team who have the ability to do this. And the real reason is because there are potential implications. So we're trying to make it easier for those folks who are really administrating the site and our power users, but as well just for us to maintain, to make it easier and just more efficient. So the things that we're going to talk about, it's not that they're not available and that you can't have them. It's just that it's who can actually enable them. That's really the way to think of it. So having said all that, we are going to look at the header and the footer, because we've made some huge improvements. So anybody who has been administrating the site for a while will know that the header and the footer are a total nightmare to deal with, because it's in this place called the block layout. If you don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry, you don't want to know, is the short answer. It is super complicated to deal with, and it doesn't necessarily lay out the way you think, and you put it in the component in the right place, and you think you put it in the right place, and it looks atrocious, is the only way to answer it. So this is our solution, and I know Chaz did show some of these, but we're going to go over kind of how easy it is from a back-end perspective to maintain. So let's just switch back over. So this site that we are on is part of our testing platform. So please don't think anything is finalized in here. And if you're like, well, how come the font looks all weird, or weird things like that, don't worry, it's not the final, it's not approved. We're testing things out as we go along. But nevertheless, if I go over here and I'm into my appearances, I go into my settings. Chaz already showed us, for example, how to change the search and the navigation. But what I want to call out is things like the donation URL. Well, that's really easy. If you change your location of where your donations go, all I do is put in a new URL and save the page. Automatically updates. You want to have, and here's a really big and nice improvement, you need to have an alert on your site that tells users, doesn't matter what it is, you can just easily add the text. We can edit it right here. So, we can add whatever text we want. We can bold it. So let's just bold the first part and improperly bold and make sure that the first letter isn't bolded. But look, once I hit save, it publishes these changes instantly. We'll go back to the site and look at it, and it's done. So it makes it really easy. There's no messing around. You don't have to figure out anything. You can hopefully do it on your own. And I think, yeah, it did it. So you can see that it's now part of that. The F is not bolded, but the rest is the F and the I. So it's really intuitive and easy to update. So it's really nice. The other thing, and I want to just kind of call out, is, oh, I went to the wrong place. Sorry, you are not going to be changing those settings. So we've got those URLs, but let's look at the footer, which is another area that I find people have a lot of trouble with, especially adding addresses in, things of that nature. You know, let's talk about social media links. Yeah, the whole social media thing and making sure that you're linking to the right place. Well, let's just say I have a new link and I want to put it into Twitter. Oh, no, that's not my right link, but that doesn't matter. We could just put our link. I've updated it. I'm going to go back to my site. If I scroll down to the page, you'll notice that the logo automatically updates. If I want to change that, again, obviously it's no problem. I just delete it out and then click save. So this is really where we're going in terms of for our end users, really trying to make life easy for everyone. The other one that I really want to call out is the logos, because I don't know how many conversations I've had with a lot of folks on the site about logos and using SVG files and having to make sure that you then edit the text file that goes along with the SVG file so that you have the actual dimensions show up correctly. Yeah, won't have to. I think that's Aaron, where we were running into the problem with your site the other month. Don't have to worry about that. Just upload the SVG file itself, and the site takes care of the rest and making sure that the proportions are correct and everything. So these are really the changes that we've been making to try and make your life easier.
Whether or not there's an ability to hide some pages behind a MedNet login or control who can access those pages. And if not, like what your suggested workaround might be for that.
So the long-term vision is that we are going to have the ability to have a site that you would have to log into under MedNet credentials. However, that is not yet available, and that's more of a long-term roadmap. Again, at the moment, really, we are focusing on the public side of the site. So that's really where we're at. So the short answer is no. If you are looking for interim solutions, again, it depends on what kind of content you're talking about, but we would always recommend going with Box or something like that, because again, you can then control, you'd have to have a MedNet credentials. So, but that doesn't necessarily address all situations, but that's the general solution that we would be recommending in the interim.